Hello and welcome. In this video, we're going to take a look at how to set up Rillion Contract from the start. We're going to look at some key administration settings and some activation settings in order to get started in the best possible way. So let's dive right in. The first thing that we're going to do is navigate down to the administration section right here. We're going to go down to the register. We're going to click on company. Here we begin by selecting the company we want to configure. So we click on that one. What we're going to scroll down and have a look at are the two settings that are relevant for contracts on the company parameters. The first one we're going to find is underneath the accounting model. So we scroll down to the accounting model and we scroll down a little bit further. What we're going to be able to see here is that we have one tick box called Activate Check Against Flow Function Rules for Contracts. This ensures contracts pass through required organizational functions before approval. It's a little bit complex to configure, so unless your organization requires it, we recommend leaving this box unchecked. However, what we're going to do now is we're going to scroll down to the section that deals with the flow for a contract when the button of unknown is clicked on the contract. We're going to be able to see here that we have four separate options. The option right here, you see that we have a drop-down list of four different options. So when we click on this one right here, we're going to be able to see that we have forward to next role as the first option. This means that we send the contract to the next role in the flow. And if the current role is the last one in the flow, the user will need to add another role to the flow before clicking unknown. And that's the one we recommend you set it up with to start with, unless you have a very specific workflow in mind here. The second option is called previous role inserted in flow, and it explains right in the actual option itself, but it means that it adds the flow before the current role to the flow. The third option is called first role in flow inserted in flow, and this adds the first role in the flow as the next role in the flow. The final option is called according to flow proposal. And according to flow proposal means that it will add any roles from a flow proposal that you can specify in the field here below. So when someone clicks unknown on a contract, it goes out into this specific flow proposal when you want that specific flow proposal to be the way you use contract. And here you can pick the one that best fits your approval process. Again, the one we recommend is forward to next role. But now you know what the different options are. What we're going to do next is that we're going to navigate back a previous level. In this case, we're going to disregard the changes, but you would have to click yes if you made any changes on the company parameters. We go back to administration, general information. We're going to click on general information, and we're going to go to the permission groups. So within the permission groups, there are a couple of different settings that define what users can see and do in Rillion Contract. And here you can add permissions to existing groups already or create new ones. We at least recommend that you create a new group called Contract Administrators or Contract Administrator in this case here, and add, for example, Contract Approver permissions to existing approval groups, like the one we see here, for example, with approval. So what we're going to take a look at first is for the Contract Administrators. We're going to click on this one. We're going to navigate down to the section on contracts. We're going to take a look at those specifics right here. And here are the recommended settings that we recommend, which is delete here, that they can create, update, and delete contracts. So recommend putting a 3 here. We also recommend number 1 here for edit permissions so that you can actually edit the permissions for the contracts. And also making sure that you can edit confidentiality classifications as well. So I'll also put that one to a 1 as a recommendation from us. Number 2 here. So place a number 2 for process contract lines. And also the same thing for managing flows for contracts. Also put here on a 2, meaning that you can manage images and appendices and add roles to the flow. At the same time, we recommend having a no on approving contract for matching. Having that as set as no, because most often this is an administratory setting and maybe not recommended to have approval rights then to the contract for matching with specific permission group. And next we will scroll down to reports, also making sure that we are able to view the contracts themselves in the run show contract and show contract budget reports. So putting that one to a yes. Also, here we recommend not being permitted to read classified records unless the role is included in the flow. And updating contract headers, we recommend putting that one to a yes. And also permission for contracts in reports, that you're able to view and open all contracts. Those are the settings for the contract administrator group on both the reports level and the actual module contracts itself. We're going to navigate back now to another approval version where we can take a look at where we recommend you add these contract permissions also on a specific approval role already. Same thing would be here to scroll down to the contract section. What we're going to do here, we're just going to make sure that we're able to add and edit but not delete. So placing a 2 here in this field. And edit permissions for contracts would be good to have set to 1 so that you're able to add and remove, and also making sure that you're not able to edit confidentiality classification. And when you're able to edit and delete unapproved data, meaning that you're not able to update anything or remove anything when you're not part of the flow. And managing flows for contract, here we also recommend that you place a 1, that you can add a flow. And at the same time, approve contract for matching, yes, match by net and budget amount. And number 2 is our recommendation here. Also, when we scroll down to the report section for this part, for contracts, we recommend you have a 1 here, that you can actually run the reports. Recommend you place a 0 in view contracts with classification. And the final one here, permission for contracts in reports, we recommend that you have view all contracts, but only open contracts where role has permission. And to not have a 0 here, but actually switch it to a yes, where you're able to update contract headers. So those are the different settings for the permission groups for both the contract administrator and the approval. We need to make sure that we go to the role configuration screen when we go into roles and actually have a look at the role. And here we would need to assign the permission groups that we talked about before in order to make sure that they get access to the contract module. And if you already add these permissions to an existing group, the roles already assigned to it will inherit access automatically. So we can, for example, go into one of these, and we can see down here that this one is actually part of the permission group contract administrator. So this one already has permission. What we're going to also take a look at is the creation of a role called, for example, fully matched. And the thing that you would do with a role named that is that you can use it for fully matched contracts, this being a fictional role, which is easier than to identify matched invoices. And this role, it's important that this one actually has permission to sign all matched invoices to contract, that it has permission to contract, as we can see here in the permission group, and also that it has permission to all the different companies, accounts, and objects. And that's something you can have a look at on the select permissions. We can see that it has an asterisk in all these different fields. If it wouldn't have had that, you would have had to add that yourself and click save and then click on allocate for it also to take effect, to actually have those permissions on the role. It's important also that it has a high authorization amount so that it's possible to actually approve the contracts that are matched to invoices. What we're also going to finally take a look at is the flow proposal, and we can go back a level and down to flow proposal. We're going to take a look at making a new one that is possible to use for matching with contracts. For example, if we take a look at any of these ones that we have right here, we can take a look at and seeing where you would also need to mark it on the actual flow proposal itself. You need to tick the box of contracts and click save for that specific flow proposal to be able to be used when matching contracts to invoices. That goes for all the flow proposals that should be possible to use on a contract. We have now gone through how to set up Rillion contract and all the administration settings that you might need in order to get started. And we wish you all the best, and thanks for watching.